Hello, and welcome back to the 5th episode of In Case You Missed It, bringing you the biggest stories out of Richmond, Washington, and from around the world. This week, we'll talk about the ongoing conflict between the Biden administration and Texas over the southern border, and the latest from the Middle East, including a ruling from the International Court of Justice on the Israel-Hamas war. My name is Tyler Bagent, and let's get started. On January 22nd, the Supreme Court sided with the Biden administration in a dispute with Texas over their placement of barbed wire on the U.S.-Mexico border, intended to prevent undocumented immigrants from entering the United States. The Supreme Court, in a 5-4 ruling, ruled that the federal government can cut down barbed wire on the border, vacating a lower court ruling and setting up another showdown with the Biden administration. The ruling, which did not include opinions from either side, has thus far left an area of Shelby Park, Texas, in contest. Texas previously sued the Biden administration after members of the Border Patrol cut down some of the barbed wire put up by the state of Texas, which they put up after allegations of inaction from President Biden on the southern border. In a letter written the day following the Supreme Court decision, the Department of Homeland Security demanded that Texas give them full access to Shelby Park by January 26. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, in a response letter to Biden administration officials, said, quote, "Your request is hereby denied." Furthermore, Paxton said that he will continue, quote, "Texas' efforts to protect its southern border against every effort by the Biden administration to undermine the state's constitutional right of self-defense." Texas Governor Greg Abbott has disagreed with the ruling, using the Constitution to justify his actions. In a statement, Abbott said, quote, "The failure of the Biden administration to fulfill its duties imposed by Article 4, Section 4 has triggered Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3, which reserves to the states the right of self-defense. For these reasons, I have already declared an invasion under Article 1, Section 10, Clause 3 to invoke Texas' constitutional authority to defend and protect itself." In short, Article 4 states that the United States must protect its states from invasion. Article 1 says that states are prevented from entering compacts with other states or nations without the consent of Congress, and they also may not engage in war unless invaded. Abbott's usage of these clauses to defy the federal government's supremacy has been widely debated by constitutional scholars and politicians alike. 25 out of 26 Republican governors across the country have declared in a joint statement that they support Abbott's decision, including Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. Some have declared that they may send troops to assist Abbott in defending the border, with President Biden facing calls to federalize the Texas National Guard, which would effectively take them out of Abbott's control. Congress has continued negotiations for a deal to secure the border, though the House and Senate sit at fundamentally different places on what the deal should include. The Senate was rumored to have struck a deal, one that would give President Biden the power to shut down the border, though Republican Speaker of the House Mike Johnson has called this proposed deal, quote, "dead on arrival." Furthermore, the House is currently looking to impeach Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas over his handling of the border, with the House committee teeing up a floor vote. If this passes, Mayorkas would be the first cabinet secretary to be impeached in over 150 years. Last week, the International Court of Justice, the United Nations' top world court, ordered Israel to take all measures necessary to prevent death, destruction, and genocide in Gaza, though did not order a ceasefire in the region. The case was brought to the ICJ by South Africa, initiating proceedings under the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide, which alleged that Israel has conducted and is currently conducting genocide against the Palestinian people. They issued their ruling on the 26th of January, largely seen as a rebuke of Israel's campaign in Gaza, but not ordering it to stop. The case was opposed by a collection of nations, most notably the United States. Spokesman for the National Security Council, John Kirby, called South Africa's allegations, quote, "meritless, counterproductive, completely without any basis in fact whatsoever." The U.S. State Department reaffirmed its claim that Israel should try and minimize civilian casualties. In a statement, the State Department spokesperson said, quote, "We continue to believe that allegations of genocide are unfounded, and note the court did not make a finding about genocide or call for a ceasefire in its ruling, and that it called for the unconditional, immediate release of all hostages being held by Hamas," end quote. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu called the ruling, quote, "outrageous," and called on people to, quote, "reject it." On the flip side, Palestine's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates welcomed the ruling, saying it is an important reminder that no state is above the law. Despite this, many Palestinians in Gaza who have been displaced expressed disappointment that the ICJ did not order a ceasefire. Ahmed al-Nafar, a Palestinian man from Gaza City, called the court a failure in an interview with Al Jazeera. Quote, "It's shocking that, unfortunately, no one can handle calling for a ceasefire. Everyone is watching our annihilation without taking action to push for a serious ceasefire." According to reporting from NPR, the Gazan Health Ministry has said that 25,105 Palestinians have been killed in Gaza since the war started as of January 21st. For context, this is roughly 3.5 times the population of Farmville. Furthermore, another 62,681 have been injured, and over 85% of Gazans have been displaced from their homes. In years past, estimates from the Gazan Health Ministry have been consistent with UN estimates, also according to NPR. According to Israel, over 1,400 Israelis have died, including 800 civilians, and over 100 are still held hostage by Hamas. To this point, it remains unclear when there will be a pause in hostilities, although Israeli and U.S. negotiators are seeing signs of progress for a temporary pause in the war for hostages to be released. That said, the Biden administration has said not to expect any imminent developments. Thanks for watching. I am Tyler Bagent, and this has been In Case You Missed It. Check back next week for more updates from Richmond, Washington, and from around the world. See you soon.